Hey friends, coming to you with a little craft update and tutorial. I've completely switched gears from hat making for the moment to work on some macrame samples. So this is my big arts and science project for the year. I'm researching macrame and the historical macrame from the 1500s. And so I found a example that's in the Cleveland Museum of Art. Best museum, I think, in America. Yeah. It's definitely the best free museum in America. So this is an example of 15th century macrame or 16th century macrame. This is like blown up, like huge. This whole thing is like less than, like, I think it's like this big, the whole thing with the fringe. So it's very tiny. So what I am doing is I am working on a little sample. Here we go, a sample to like practice these stitches and better understand what's going on. So I thought I would show you how that works. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna kind of do this sideways, but to just try and give you an idea of what's going on. So I've already done the first like part of the pattern, which is kind of like the top half to this pattern. So I've done this and now I'm working on this. And so I've already done one side and now I'm going to do this side. So the first thing I need to do is to make a set of alternating half hitch knots. So these are not very popular macrame stitches in modern, times. So what I'm doing is I'm making a knot around one of the strands, and I'm kind of like holding this one taut while I make that knot, and then I alternate, so then I hold this one taut while I make a knot. See, that's how that's a little knot, and now it's being held taut as I make that knot around. And then I'm gonna do that, I think 4 times total for this side. And you can see how the variation in the size of the linen thread, all linen thread tends to have like a variation, so it can make your knots kind of lumpy. So then the next one, so if you see on my example, we have knots, then we have fewer knots, and then we have no knots. So my next one, I'm just gonna do 2. And I tend to like always start on the same side when I'm doing my knots, just so that I like, have consistency. And now I'm going to start what's called a diagonal half hitch bar. So I'm going to take this thread. This is going to be my foundation thread, and it's going to be the foundation for this diagonal line of knots. So what I'm doing is I'm making a half hitch knot around that thread. I'm pulling it tight, and then I'm going to do that again with the same thread. Then I'm going to take the next thread in the line, so this one's next, and it's one of the ones that I made knots with earlier. I'm going to knot it around once and then twice, and then I'm going to do that to its partner once, twice. And the way that you hold the thread is pretty important to getting the angle right. So you really do need to like pay attention to the angle that this thread is being held, because that will matter. Because if you want it more horizontal, you want to hold it more horizontal. If you want it more vertical, you hold it more vertical, because that will change the way that the lace looks as you go. And then my last thread. And now I'm going to start way up at the beginning again and make another line of those half hitch knots. So it's like a double half hitch knot on a diagonal bar. And then when I'm making these knots, there's tons of diagrams out there that you can look at. But so, and this one is, the threads that I'm knotting with are underneath my foundation thread. And I'm just going, pulling them up, putting the tail behind my foundation thread, and then bringing it through the loop that's created. So I'll try and do that a little up close. So I'm creating this like loop, and see this, the foundation thread has a loop, and then it's going over, or this is my working thread is creating a loop going over my foundation thread, and then I'm going to pull it, the end of that working thread, through the hole. And this is really the only knot I am using. I am using a square knot as well. But in this whole lace, there's only 4 square knots, but there's a ton of these half hitch knots. And then my last thread. There we go. And now that little portion is done. So this whole portion repeated right there. So I think I'm going to like speed through the rest. So I might, you know, speed it up as I go. So you can see how the rest goes.